Good morning and welcome to In Search of Prosperity Sisterhood. We are so glad to have you, ladies. And we are here to find connection and confidence in our life and business through this conversation. Sometimes I'll have notes and I'll be reading through, and sometimes you're just going to get me on my soapbox. And then everything in between, really. And then when we go into our live discussion where we really break this down, share our perspectives, our experiences, our hearts, that's where the juice is. That's where the good stuff is. So this is to get kind of those wheels turning, grease those wheels, and then we'll go into our live discussion. So I'm so glad you're here. And if you're on the replay, let's have it, right? Drop your comments in as things resonate, or if you want to take a note, or if it's just something that needs to be repeated, right? And we'll go into our discussion afterwards. So without further ado, earlier this week, we talked about off days versus days off. And it really turned into that discussion of those things that you just feel off. It was more of an internal discussion, like that personal development side of the discussion, where sometimes things just feel off. And what do we do? What can we do to not feel so off? And that conclusion was connection, and how we connect with ourselves and how we connect with other people, with our mentors, with our friends and family, with nature, whatever it is that makes you feel more connected, that can turn an off day just into a day off. So today, we're switching that script a little bit and externalizing those off days. And usually it's not an entire day. When it's an external thing, it's a situational thing or a conversational thing that triggers you into needing to set boundaries, into needing to protect your time and your energy. So these types of off days or off conversations or off situations, they're external. And in order to get through and past them, that's where setting boundaries and standing firm in protecting your time, whatever that looks like to you, that is how you get through those off moments, so they don't turn into an entirely off day. So it's not just Mondays. It's not just full moons, which we just had one, right? These are, and yet those are things that can trigger this offness. So taking and not being totally consumed by being off, because it's just a little thing. It's not the end of the world, right? So some things that can help us get back on track, reset for the next meeting, not throw away the entire day, which you totally have permission to do, by the way. If that's what needs to be done and you just need to lock the doors for the day, that's what you need to do. Okay, I want you to have that permission as well. But when we're switching gears every day, right, or every hour, right, a new customer walks in the door, a new person picks up the phone and calls you, right, sends you a text, shoots you that email that you weren't expecting. Scripts is something that really helps you reset into that moment. An example of a script is also I am statements or affirmations. So if you're feeling down, again, that internal piece of feeling off, resetting to set that next conversation up for success, up for abundance, affirmations. That's an example of a script, really. I like using the word script because some people are like, I don't know. No, we can't do scripts. I'm not doing scripts. I'm not going to be a robot and all this other flowers and rainbow stuff. But scripts are powerful. Scripts are something that doesn't always change. So it's that foundation, it's that setting of the pace or whatever that might be, resetting of the mind. So that's an I am statement. An affirmation can do that for you in that moment. We will be doing some affirmation work in our prosperity manifesto coming up in a few weeks. Those dates will be announced when I get to them soon, because it is almost that time. We are still few weeks out. But anyway, we will be working on those as well. But then scripts, so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel when something off happens, right? Something didn't get delivered. Something, the wrong question was asked or answered. Like there's a cog in that wheel, right? Like something went wrong, scripts. Something went right, scripts. Because sometimes we as humans, we have emotions, and those emotions don't have to dictate every single thing that comes our way that day because of what we're feeling inside. Now, they totally can. I go back on myself a lot on that, because you do have to. Emotion is also passion. Like that is one of the millions of emotions we can feel as humans. I don't know the whole list. I feel like I've felt a lot of them in the last few years, but we don't have to take every single emotion that we have felt in the last hour and bring it into the next conversation, right? There's some that we do and we have to, right? In order to get through the day, to get to our destination. But there's some that can just be left on the table, that can be left for later in the day, or that time, or that nap, whatever, whenever you can. I'm not telling you to shove it down. I'm telling you sometimes it's not something you bring into the next conversation. Okay. So scripts, this is my soapbox on scripts, because a script can reset your mind to gratitude, can reset your mind to problem solving, can reset your mind to customer service, right? It doesn't have to always be copy and paste, but it can be something like reading an affirmation to set your mind to that abundance again. Reading a script that says, thank you so much for your concern in this area. We do have a team working on it. Until then, try this, right? Like try this workaround or whatever that might be, instead of coming to it like everything's on fire again, right? So when we sit down and read that script, okay, it might not perfectly apply to the situation that is now on fire coming at us, but we've read that script and we said, oh, I've handled this well in the past. I can handle this well again. And then you're just saying, thank you so much for your concern, blah, 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 blah. And you're finishing that sentence because it is a new situation. But you're not having to reinvent the wheel. You're just resetting your mind to that situation, not bringing as many of those emotions into. Because if we do, we start to stack on those things, and then we have a really bad day, not just an off day. Then we just have a bad day, right? So scripts, that's my number one. Second, your mission, vision, and values. Being in alignment, checking in with those. So when things come at you, you can say, hey, look over here. This is my policies and procedures. This is my mission. If it doesn't fulfill my mission, is it what I want to spend the next 2 hours on? That goes back to saying yes or no to something. But sometimes you're asked in your business and in your life to do things that may not help you fulfill those things. And and sometimes we get down on that, it turns into something that creates an off day. Whereas if we check in, if we sleep on it, if we put it under our pillow, if we set it next to our mission, vision, and value statements, and we look at it and compare it, now it sits right with your heart. So having those things in front of you, or on demand, or on in your scripts, right? Something you have maybe framed, or again, just like your affirmations, you have them written down somewhere that you can refer to them. Those, being able to check in with those, it creates less regret and remorse and having to go back or say yes or no. It gives you those guidelines so you can sleep at night. We talked about that earlier this week. Check in with your mission, vision, and values. My mission is to positively affect 1 million paychecks. So that mission actually just came to me in my heart 3.5 years ago. And every single time I question a obligation or a promise I made or whatever, I look at that and I say, does it help me fulfill that? And in some small way, they usually do. And if it doesn't, it's really easy to just say no, or no the next time I'm asked, or whatever that might look like. Okay. But being able to just snap of a finger, refer to those things, that passion of yours, it reinstates, it affirms that you're in the right place at the right time. So third, listen to and honor your heart. And then if you have to, or need to, or want to, share it. Because when something's off, when you're in a conversation and something is off, or if you are, usually, at least my example is in conversation, whether it's in your sales process or over email, or just changing something on your website with your website guy or gal, stop and listening to your heart and honoring your heart. And then just sharing it. Like, this is the vision I have. I don't understand it, but this is what it needs to be or look like, or move forward as, so that it can flow and not feel off, right? It can just be a word. And sometimes it's just acknowledging something. So then it's creating new space. So for example, I just renamed, I've done this workshop before, this prosperity manifesto. And I've done it before, but not under this name. And I'm adding a couple things. So you got to change, right? So finding this name, I knew I had to change this name. And actually a friend, she was like, you can't use that name in your sisterhood. Like, you got to change it up. And so we talked through that a little bit. And I knew it was on my list that I had to rename this. And then one morning, I have time in the morning to do some things. And so one early morning, I was like, oh, manifesto. Is that even the right word? But I attached to it. I didn't just say, oh, I don't know what that means. Like, I can't use that word. Instead, I held on to it. And then I did some research. I just Googled it, and to make sure that it was the right word that was put on my heart for this product, for this workshop. And it totally was. And it was really cool. So sometimes, going back to even our first session about listening to your heart's going to tell you the right words to use. Your heart's going to tell you, hey, this isn't right. Or, hey, they're pushing that boundary. You should probably do something about that before they run you over or push you in front of a bus. Listening to and honoring your heart. And sometimes you just have to do it. And I've done this in person to people. I'm like, guys, I got to go. My heart said I needed to go home. That's it. So listening to and honoring your heart, I think, allows you to protect your time and set those boundaries, setting those expectations of yourself, and then also of your potential clients, of your family, wherever that might be. Okay. When you can protect your time and set expectations, and I'm sure we'll talk about this again at some time and into our discussion, of course, but when you can protect your time and set those expectations, the possibilities are limitless. Like, you hold the key. You have rolled out the red carpet for yourself. So taking it from earlier this week, there's a lot more of the activities, the things that you can do to switch. And today, it's the policies that have your back. So in closing, what are those things to you? What can they be? What are some things you said, oh, I don't have that? Or it takes me a lot longer to get to that point, or to switch gears, or make those decisions, when really I should be protecting my time and setting those expectations. So what's one small thing that you can put in place that does that? Whether it's setting an autoresponder email, whether it's putting do not disturb on your phone for certain times, time blocking, power hours, whatever that is for your life and your situation. But then going from one thing to the next and knowing when and where to bring your emotions along for the ride, to bring that a little bit of your own flavor of chaos, which is totally cool and okay. It's just where you're putting it and what you're doing with it, and letting it flow, using those activities to let that flow. Sometimes a policy is, again, something that has your back, but a policy is something that might be what you need to not have that thing happen again, right? And a policy can be as simple as, and I know we mentioned this earlier this week, a policy can be as simple as I only do that on Mondays, or I never do that on Wednesdays, or this particular day is my off. That can be a policy. And that can be something you stick to that allows you to take care of yourself and then take care of your clients as your best self. So what are those things? I just want you to think about that as we close. Thank you so much for being here at In Search of Prosperity Sisterhood. We are going to go into our live discussion, and eventually I'm going to learn how to edit these videos so that some of our live discussion can be in our recording as well. But until then, there are some levels of intimacy that I want to protect and hold dear within this sisterhood. And that's the way I'm doing it for now, because I'm practicing, I'm going along with you ladies. And thank you. Thank you for being here. I'm going to sign off now, and I will see you again soon.